Welcome to the Rogue Radiance podcast, where we're going rogue on conventional health ideologies to embrace a holistic perspective to help guide you towards living your most radiant life from the inside out. I'm Jaime Hare, your host, functional nutritionist with Better Belly Nutrition and holistic wellness crusader. My mission is to not only inform, but also inspire you. Each episode is designed to help you learn more about the power that you have over your own health so that you can take daily actions that will create a lasting impact. In my very first episode of this podcast, I chat with Selena Cruz, a certified nutritionist and resistant weight loss expert. We're decoding the mysteries behind those frustrating plateaus, particularly for women over 30. Selena shares invaluable insights and actionable tips to break free from the cycle of weight loss resistance, empowering you to optimize your nutrition and exercise regimen to sculpt the body you desire. Whether you're struggling to shed stubborn pounds or seeking to elevate your overall health and fitness, this episode is for you. Okay, let's dive in. All right. Hi, Selena. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this one.
I am super excited to get to interview you because especially as we gear up for summer, I get asked so often from especially my female clients, what are obviously the best diet, lifestyle, and of course, like exercise strategies to help them really slim down and build muscle. Just to kind of start off introducing myself for people who don't know me and my practice, my name's Jaime Hare, and I am a functional nutritionist with Better Belly Nutrition. I specialize helping my clients resolve chronic digestion, skin issues, hormone imbalances, weight concerns by focusing on root causes and optimizing your gut health. And so, along with that, I always recommend movement and exercise, but I'm definitely not an expert in that. So I love that, talking to you, you're a certified nutritionist and a fitness expert who, within the realm of resistant weight loss. I think that you're going to be able to bring so much insight to help, myself and my clients and other people who are interested in health and wellness and kind of trimming down and slimming down just to kind of reach those goals that they're trying to hit. So tell us a little bit more about you and what you specialize in.
Yeah, for sure. Great intro. And you said something that actually there's a great overlap between how you said you find root cause or you work on root cause issues. That is kind of my specialty too. I work on root cause issues for a different issue. But weight loss resistance is my specialty. I am a certified nutritionist and trainer, and I help women to not just lose weight, although that is like a big component of it. I often I'm helping women who are already doing a lot troubleshoot like why what they're doing isn't working. So that's the gist of it.
Fantastic. Yeah, because there's so much information out there. It can be so confusing, and people are trying this diet and this exercise regimen and stress management and all the things, and they're still not seeing the results that they want. So I find it so valuable to be able to work with, specialists like us who can really kind of suss out what are those root causes from an objective perspective, because it's really hard when you're coming at it from your own personal perspective, I think, to sometimes see maybe what you need to tweak to make those changes.
Totally. When you're too close, when you're inside the window frame, you can't zoom out and see like, oh, where is this frame located, right?
Totally. Well, and it's funny actually to that point, like I'll have clients always fill out a food and mood journal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times if, they'll think, oh, I'm eating super healthy. And then they take the time to actually fill out that journal. And then they see that maybe they aren't eating as healthy as they were,
But a self-assessment is never going to be like, or our memory as for what our self-assessment is never accurate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I eat salads all the time. I never have dessert. It's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Not that those are the things you need to do to lose weight, but that might be something that you think that you're doing.
Yeah, totally.
So how did you get into this, doing this type of work?
Yeah. So I came into doing this work just through my own journey. I was trying to lose weight. I have to say this, like I am someone who was not a fitness person for my entire life. In fact, I hated working out. I never thought about what I ate. I didn't necessarily eat like super unhealthy. But I was really thin for most of my life. I was what I like to call it, I was just skinny for free. I didn't have to do anything to be that way. And when I hit my late 20s and definitely early 30s, I started to gain a little bit of weight, had a lot of, kind of identity issues,
Mhm.
and tried just all the things that you hear are the most popular like weight loss tactics. So it came from my own journey of trying low carb, hit, intermittent fasting, every kind of like fitness influencer, like workout app or workout plan that they had. And I would sometimes like start to lose a few pounds, but then my progress would stall. By the end of doing this it's about a year and a half. I had gotten to the point where I was doing a ton of workouts, like 6 workouts a week, often 2 workouts a day, and eating, like, very little, and I was getting nowhere. Like, my weight stalled for over a year, and it was debilitating. But I stumbled across some information from nutrition experts and fitness experts in the field who kinda opened my eyes to how the metabolism really works, and looking at it from that umbrella versus just the calories in, calories out umbrella that I was so just used to looking at it from. So I dove into that. I hired a coach and it like transformed my body. Within like 4 months, I had made progress finally for one, but I had made more progress than I had in the previous year and a half. So I became so passionate and obsessed with that I ended up just kind of as a hobby, like helping others out who were asking me, "Oh, what should I do? I'm trying to do that." And I'm like, "Oh, I know, just try this, try this." And it ended up turning into, more and more people were asking me to help. So I became certified for others who were going through the same thing as I was. And that's where I am today.
Awesome. I find so many people in the, like, especially holistic health field tend to come there, arrive there because, yeah, we had our own struggles, and doing it the way that maybe has traditionally been done or has been taught to us, like you said, calories in, calories out,
Mhm.
isn't, it doesn't, it might work for a period of
Sure.
time, but yeah, you hit that plateau. And same for a lot of other health issues. You go to your regular doctor, they just give you medication,
Yeah.
nothing changes. And so you're
Mm.
like, okay, I
Yeah.
want to try to figure
Yeah.
out, like,
There's
yeah,
something
what's the root cause to this? Like,
right.
and to that point of metabolism, like, how does the body work? how, how are we
Right.
metabolizing metabolism isn't just metabolizing food, it's and
Right.
energy, right? It's metabolizing toxins and
Mhm. And your
byproducts of,
hormone. Mhm.
yeah, exactly, and hormones, yeah, which are all such a huge piece of the puzzle. So it's not just
Yes,
that calories in, calories out.
for sure.
All right. So kind of diving in, there's a few
Mhm.
key questions that I
Mhm.
find I get asked most, and I'd love to hear your perspective on them.
Yes.
Um, what would you say are the most common like misconceptions that about like women's fitness specifically that you encounter most often?
Okay. Great question. This comes up a lot. And I think I could break it down into like 4 main misconceptions that get women to trip up. And all of these like stumbled me up for a long time. But the first one is that you need to do a certain like type of workout for because you're a woman. So you need to do Pilates because you will get long and lean muscles. You need to do pure bar because you'll get long ballerina limbs and that long and lean and like not bulky muscles. And you have to work out you have to do these specific movements. Is one of the biggest farces that I see, and it's like not going away anytime soon. And
I hear it
there's
all
a
the time.
there's a lot
Long
that goes,
lean.
yeah, long and lean. And I wanted that. Like, who doesn't want that? It sounds great. Like, oh,
Totally.
okay, I'll do these long, like sweeping movements, and that'll make my muscles long, but not like big.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that I could do a whole 3-hour talk on that, but the gist of it for our short time that we have here is that you cannot make your muscles longer.
Okay.
You would have to physically remove. Okay, so you've got like the where your muscles are attached at the bone.
Yeah.
You'd have to remove them from this attachment and put them longer down your bone.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Or like, and grow your bone. Your
And
arm would
grow
actually
and
have
make
to
your arm
grow.
longer or your leg
Yeah.
longer. You can't get long muscles.
Yeah.
But I know what most women want when they say that is that they want like visibly toned muscles without getting like super bulky. And you have to also remember another concept here. Your muscles, I use the word toned a lot, but it is it's a misnomer because your muscles really only do one of three things. They stay the same, they get a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller.
Okay.
Cannot go like just toned. Toned really means a little bit of muscle growth.
Got it.
Which leads me perfectly into my the second misconception that I have, which is that if you lift heavy weights, you'll get bulky.
Mm-hmm.
Um that is a fear that holds a lot of people back. It held me back for a very, very long time. And honestly, it is not going to happen. You have to try. There's a specific type of training, a specific type of diet, and a lot of supplementation often that will create muscle growth in size. That is called hypertrophy training. You have to be doing everything right. It is even for men who are stage competitors trying to get their muscles bulky. That is something that takes years and years of very dedicated strategic work in order to get your muscles like bulky and big.
Okay.
So, and in fact, the irony is that if you do lift heavy, you will get that lean and toned look that you cannot ever get with Pilates, for example. And I'm not to say that you won't get some benefit from Pilates. Many women do, but most of them I talk to don't.
Got it.
The third misconception is that you need to eat low carb in order to lose weight. Again, I did this one too. It's kind of like path of least resistance in a way. It's like the first like go-to that you think of, like taking out like, oh, I love carbs, like carbs are bad, and they're not. And then you will see some people actually, they remove carbs and they lose weight. Well, we have to understand why they lost weight, because they removed carbs. And the only reason why you lose true weight, aside from just water weight, because carbs do hold on to a little bit more water in your body, but losing true weight, like losing actual body mass, is only done through a calorie deficit. So if you remove, think about it, if you have like the whole day of eating and you remove carbohydrates from every or most of your meals, you are putting yourself in a calorie deficit is what you're doing. So you don't need to be doing that. And also, I love carbs. Like you should, most people really enjoy carbs. It's our body's preferred fuel source. Try to diet without carbs, and it's going to make it so much harder to lose weight and will cause cravings to become more intense.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, and yeah, I mean, and I think that we forget that, vegetables are carbs, and, there's like, it's quality versus, crap, right? Like, what type of carbs are you eating? Obviously, if you're eating, a ton of processed starchy carbs that are raising your blood sugar, yeah, you're never going to lose weight. But I love how you paired it with the calorie situation, because you can eat 30 grams of carbs in, really high quality vegetables, and eat 30 grams of carbs in some starchy, and they're not the same calorie amount, and they're not the same quality that gives your body that satiety, feeling. So
yeah, for sure.
A misconception, I think, about carbs in general.
Yeah. And yeah, it's especially without going like too granular here, especially with the average like woman who wants to like get toned and lose weight, carbs are literally need them. And of course, the quality matters.
Yeah. So what would you say some of your, like, what are the type of carbohydrates that you're consuming most often?
So most often I eat carbohydrates from whole food sources. So I have beans a lot. I have potatoes, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, and I have grains a lot.
Okay.
So rice, beans, potatoes are in my regimen. I also still enjoy pasta and bread. Not necessarily every day, but I still have it. It is not the majority of my diet, but I do enjoy it. And as long as, depending on what your goal is, my goal right now is to, get a little bit leaner for a vacation that I have coming up. I'm not hammering my body away, but I am making sure that I am consuming the right amount of carbs for my specific body and for my goal.
Mhm.
And often it's just from a whole food source.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a sort of calculation to figure out how many grams of so if we're like obviously whole food source, carbohydrates, so
Mhm.
try to, you know, there's always moderation. I hate that word because
I
it's
know.
so
Same.
subjective. But
Totally.
to your point earlier, like I haven't completely cut bread out of my diet. I'm gluten free, so I have, although I found good gluten free options because that's what
Mhm.
works for my body. But yeah, if you're somebody who like can enjoy sourdough bread and don't, from a high quality place and don't have issues from that, then by all means, right?
Yeah.
But back to my question is like, so if you're trying to figure out what would be the right amount of grams of high quality carbohydrates to eat, with a meal or every day, do you have a
Mhm.
calculation for that?
I do.
Not
It's
that you have to
different.
share it if it's like
No, I'm
top
happy to
secret.
share it. I will share everything. It's just it depends greatly on a lot of different things.
Mhm.
So I will say, this is the way I'll just kind of peel back the curtain. This is the way I will prescribe macros for someone.
Okay.
I will first look at what your baseline metabolic rate is, right? So that is the amount of calories that it takes for your body just to breathe, for your heart to pump, for you to just perform like for you to digest food. If you're laying in bed all day, that is your BMR, your baseline metabolic rate.
Okay.
Then I will look at your activity. So say you work a very sedentary job, or you are an athlete who's working out 5 to 6 days a week. I use a multiplier. Um, so it's if for someone who's working out like 5, 6 days a week, very active, the multiplier is about like your BMR times 1.7. So just know there's a huge range in there.
Okay.
Um, then that gets me your total calories, or approximately what your total calories should be at, because a formula is never ever going to be able to give you like, oh, this is your number. You have to, it's just the best starting place for us, right?
Mhm.
So I use this multiplier. And then I look at what type of activity you're doing. So most of my clients, in fact, all of my clients right now, are working on building strength and building lean muscle. I look at how many days a week you are doing resistance training, like true and proper resistance training, which I know we'll get into a little bit. Um, I will look at that, and then I will say, okay, where's your goal? Let's set your protein ratio. That always goes first,
Mhm.
which is approximately a 1-to-1 ratio of grams of protein per pound of body fat, or per pound of, I'm sorry, not body fat, per
Oh,
pound of body weight, or per
okay.
pound of goal body weight. And then after that is taken care of, then I look at your fats. So there's a great range of fats, but for most women who are, doing resistance training 3 to 4 days a week, you want your fats around like 30% of total calories.
Mhm.
Um, Calculate that. And then last comes your carbs. That ends up often being around 40 to 60% of your total daily calories is carbs.
Okay. Awesome.
So I know that's like not super specific, but that's the process I use. And then we have to make tweaks depending on lots of individual variances and your tolerance to different foods and all that.
Well, and that's why I think it's so important to express that like it's dependent on you as the individual. There's
Right.
no perfect formula for that works for every single person. We're all
Right.
so different. So
Right.
age, yeah, activity level, stress level, literally everything.
Right.
So,
Right. Totally.
but I like to at least have, somewhat of a general, like, because there is somewhat of
Yeah.
a general,
Of
uh,
course. Yeah. I don't just like pull these numbers from the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a calculation that that we as nutritionists we use just as a starting point. It is the best starting point. And it also helps us to see like what the range of how far you are from where ideally you should be.
Yeah.
So some people may be, let's say that their BMR and their activity multiplier gets me to like, okay, this person probably should be eating around 2,000 calories a day in order to maintain exactly like where they're at. But they come to me and they're eating like 1,100 calories per day. If I were to just tell them, oh, here's your calculation, like go ahead, have fun, they would gain weight. But
Mhm.
there's a root cause issue there because they shouldn't be eating that little and or the opposite. They shouldn't be eating that much and gaining weight if that's where their general homeostasis should be at.
Mhm. Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Totally. And I think that's another really good point is that it's like what's going on in your body that could be causing that weight loss resistance, right? So like
Hmm.
we have to
Yeah,
really dive deeper into what's going on in your life, what are the different
exactly.
factors outside of just what you're consuming and how many calories that you're burning.
Yes, 100%.
And lucky for women, our hormones are always fluctuating throughout the month. And then as we get older, and
Right?
so we get to kind of figure out that piece of the puzzle
I
as
know, isn't that awesome?
changing as well, which just makes it even harder. It's like I've done like super clean, you do like Whole30 or super clean diets like for the
Right.
month with my husband. And, I always have good success because you're eating super clean and not drinking alcohol and doing all the things. And I'll lose like 5 pounds. And I look at him and I'm like, he's lost like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
He looks
Yeah.
so good.
Totally.
What the heck?
There's a reason for that, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And I was just reminding myself, okay, it's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and then he goes back to eating normal and he keeps it off. And I like have, one cocktail and I feel bloated again. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Uh,
Okay. So then what are some of the like most effective strategies for women to implement when they are looking to, build muscle and then also lose weight?
okay. Great question. So most women want both of those things, but we have to understand that those are two different things.
Okay.
So there are nuances in each of those goals, but here's where they overlap. Some super effective strategies you can do right off the bat is to make sure you eat protein at every meal. Even if you're not counting like how many grams of protein you're getting, if you have one like a full serving, not like a little bit of chicken or like a couple shrimps, like if you're
Mhm.
having a full serving of protein at every meal, you are going to be much closer to what your ideal protein intake should be. And that's a relatively easy one.
Mhm. Do you have any preferred sources of protein that people incorporate?
Yes. The Beyond Burger. No, just kidding.
I was like, I'm going to turn this off right now. Interview over.
No, no. Anything that is from a whole food source, um, seafood, animals are the best sources. Yes, you can get protein from plant sources. In fact, it's like a great idea to incorporate that, but you don't get the same quality, the same the same micronutrient profile as I know you know, and the amino acid profiles are very different with plant proteins, and they are not all bioavailable to us as humans. So just because a cow can eat its weight in grass all day and get all the protein it needs from grass, it doesn't mean that humans can do the same thing because our bodies are made completely differently. So
Yeah.
whole food source, incorporate a variety of animals, seafood, and veggies.
Do you have clients that come to you that are vegetarian or vegan that you try to coach on, bringing in? Like, what do you do in those situations?
Yes. So it can absolutely be done. I have several clients who eat like one who is a pescatarian. And then I had a vegan who I was working with for quite a long time. She had to recently take a break from it, but being being very intentional about your micronutrients, so a variety of whole foods and all these other categories. So, your fruits and veggies are going to be huge. And then supplementing with protein is going to be pretty much the only way that you're going to get an adequate amount of protein. We have to be really mindful about supplementing often with other, non-food supplements as well, vitamin D, magnesium, and sometimes I will even have those clients take creatine, which is it's an amino acid that you are missing out on when you are not having um when you're not having animal sources of protein. So that can be great, especially for like vegan or vegetarian people. But as long as you have a normal like health profile, your hormones are functioning very well, you are getting a variety of whole foods and nutrients and vitamins and minerals, then you can supplement with non-animal sources of protein, hit your macros, and you can be gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, an important piece of that is that, there's a lot of shows and articles written about how you can absolutely, be in superior health if you are a vegan or vegetarian. And I think that the key to that, a lot of these people aren't talking about, especially these bodybuilders who are advocating for that, is that they're supplementing. They have to, right? Like you're not going to be able to build all that muscle without
Right.
some sort
Right.
of supplementation. And
And
I
the
understand the ethical reason why people are that, and so that we want to respect that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a lot that you are missing out on that would probably need to be, adjusted for.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I never like question any, like, you're vegan or you're vegetarian, fine, that's cool. But this is what we need to do then.
Yeah. I have clients who come to me and they just have like wrecked guts. And, I just explained to them like part of it's really hard to break down, food. And when your body's and your immune system's gone haywire and your body's
Yeah.
in this, really bad state, adding an animal, like you're just going to heal a lot faster. You're going to give your
Yeah,
body more of those bioavailable nutrients that your body can use,
exactly,
and help
exactly.
calm that inflammation. But it is definitely it's a process. So
For sure. And you mentioned like the bodybuilders who are like plant-based. There's kind of just because they're a plant-based bodybuilder doesn't mean that their health metrics are the same. So there's really like two types. There are the ones that like they both look good on the outside, right? Well, one
Mhm.
can argue, okay?
Yeah.
But there are those who they build a lot of muscle, they're, doing their weightlifting bodybuilding thing, and their hormone panels are shit, but you can't
Mhm.
necessarily see that on the outside.
Good
And
point.
there are other ones who they take a lot of care in getting regular blood work done, supplementing with vitamins and minerals, and some of them actually, and they don't show this in the documentaries, but some of them go in and out of seasons of being vegan and
Oh,
then reincorporating plant foods, or I'm sorry, reincorporating animal foods.
interesting.
So, yeah,
Yeah. That's such a good point. And back to what I was saying, when I have clients who come to me, like a lot of times they have depression. And I'm not trying to generalize that, oh, if you're plant-based, this is what you're going to
sure.
have. But, these are common things that can come up
Right.
because, yeah, there's so many nutrients that we do. Fat, your hormones are made out of fat, your neurotransmitters are made out of fat. So when you're not, you're only getting plant sources, it can definitely throw off your hormones, and it throws
Right.
off, different parts of your body systems. So,
Exactly.
but that's so interesting that, it said how actually sometimes they'll cycle in and out of it, but
Yeah.
that doesn't sell more Beyond Meat burgers, which are a lot of times the companies that are producing those studies and those shows. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but not to say that it can't be done. It just takes a lot more care.
Yes.
And if you're somebody who like doesn't, maybe the ethical issue, again, always quality sources. Like
Yeah.
if you're choosing to eat animals, make sure that it's coming from animals that are treated well, they aren't living
Right.
in these horrific conditions, that aren't being
Right.
fed terrible stuff, that they're enjoying their natural diet. Uh,
Mhm.
but then it'll be a faster, like easier way where you don't have to maybe consider as, and you don't have to eat as much either.
Right.
Right.
Totally, totally. It can be
I,
really hard to like, um, if you're vegan, it can be super hard to stay within like your calorie goal if you're also like having to supplement with like a lot of plant protein sources because you don't get just plant protein, you get a lot of carbohydrates, which again, it's not bad, but it gets a lot easier to go over your calories that way.
good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I find I just feel so safe, like for me, because I just animal products work really well for me. It's like I just feel so much more satiated too when I have had
Totally.
like a pasture raised egg cooked in butter, and then an avocado, like all that
Yes.
combination
Yes.
together. I
Oh,
feel like I can just eat an amount and I feel good for, hours and hours.
100%. Yeah.
Versus like, yeah, maybe a piece of avocado toast. No, that's not, I'm gonna be hungry, a
Yeah.
couple hours later.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. So you had kind of
So,
mentioned target protein, like
yeah.
you said grams, 1 gram per body weight. Is that what you had said?
1 gram. So this is general rule of thumb, and it doesn't need to be exactly this, but the amount of protein that is ideal for you is generally going to be about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or per pound of goal body weight. So if you are like 180 pounds and you want to get down to like 160, you should probably aim for close to 160 grams of protein a day. I realize that's a lot, but
Yeah,
again,
that is a lot.
there is a range. The range is really like 0.7 all the way up to 1.2 um,
Okay.
grams.
We were something that I will often tell people is like, your fist size, like the size of your fist in
Yes.
protein,
Yes.
as you're serving,
Right.
be kind of helpful. But obviously every serving is going to be different. So
Hmm.
people who are really counting their
Hmm.
macros, then
Yeah.
that's great to know that
Yeah. Yeah.
the a proper amount. Because yeah, I don't think people are getting enough protein.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost no, I mean, there is not a single person in my close to like 4 years of doing this now. There's not a single person who has come to me and they're getting adequate protein.
Mm,
Not
mhm.
one.
Okay, wow. Which is
Yeah,
a huge part of the problem, right?
for sure.
And,
Yeah.
and can you explain a little bit more about like why protein is so essential to that like building muscle?
Mhm. Yes. Um, it is there are more benefits than just this one, but talking specifically about building muscle, because that's what you asked. When we are, first of all, training in the right way that elicits a muscle building response, and not all workouts will do that, but if you are actually telling your body that you need to get stronger, your body will be looking for the ingredients to do that. So, and by the way, your body uses protein for all kinds of other things too, for building your DNA and tissues in your all different tissues, not just muscle tissue. So, when all of those are taken up with the other processes that require protein, and you are now asking your body build more of this muscle tissue, you need to give your body the ingredients in order to respond to that signal, which is why getting an adequate amount is critical. You even if you were to like do everything like perfect with training, you're not going to get ideal results without getting the right amount of protein for your body.
Because that makes so much sense because it's going to use protein for all these other processes like keeping your immune system healthy and yeah,
Right.
and like all the different thousands of things that your body needs protein for. And it's
Right.
probably going to put like, yeah, you need muscle, like that's
Mhm.
important, but like you don't need, to
Yeah.
be maybe the way that we want muscle to be, right? To
Right.
look
Right.
really
Right.
good in a swimsuit. So that's kind of a last priority for our body. Like they're just, yeah, you need it to like be standing and be able to run from a tiger if that's the
For
case.
sure. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But not for like you don't really need a six pack.
Right.
Evolutionarily, our bodies are like, you don't need that six pack.
Yeah. And that's so interesting that you bring up evolutionarily because so muscle building, and this is one of the many reasons why I just love like strength training and focusing on building muscle. Building muscle is a very expensive process for your body. Your body will like it'll be like, no, we're not going to do that unless we have what we need and then some in order to do
Oh, okay.
that. It takes a lot of resources to build new muscle tissue. And the beauty is, once you have it, it's a lot harder to lose it. But it is a very difficult process for your body to synthesize literally new muscle tissue, which
Oh,
is one of the reasons why you're not going to wake up looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger the next day. Like, it's hard. It's super hard to do.
hard. Yeah. Although I feel like like my brother was one of those people where he just always had a six pack and he ate horrifically and just like
Yeah.
I think he barely exercised, and I was like, oh, you're just one of those people.
Yeah. Well, there are genetic freaks, I will say. And most women think that they are one. They think like, oh, you don't understand. Like, I really gain muscle in my thighs like really easily. And it's like, maybe, but we'll see. And
Mhm,
often, I mean, it's not even like 1% of people are genetic freaks. It's like 1% of 1%. But
mhm,
often people will have, like, say they start doing squats or something, and they're like, "Oh, my muscles are getting like bulky, my legs are getting bulky." It's like you're maybe getting a little bit more like toned on your legs or a little bit of muscle definition, but you also have like fat on top of the muscle, and maybe uh your appetite has increased and you've started eating more.
mhm.
So, yes, there's genetic freaks like probably your brother, but if we were to look at someone like that, and figure out, okay, what are you actually eating? What are you actually doing? Are you maybe someone who has natural lean muscle and like a very low body fat percentage? That
Mm.
can often give the impression that you've got a lot of muscle. What really it often is that you just don't have as much fat covering the muscle that you do have.
Oh, that's what I like to think about myself. Like it's, I have a six pack
You
under that
do.
layer.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do.
We all do. It's all
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
there.
Okay, so it's about eliminating that layer of fat, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really what we're
eliminating the
all
layer of
going
fat
for.
and not becoming, and we've all seen this, like, being skinny fat is like you just lose weight and you lose muscle and you're like a stick, but you've got no, like, muscle tone and your metabolism is, like,
Yeah,
totally plummeted.
true.
Um, and then I lost my train of thought when I made a sound.
Like losing that layer of fat,
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
sure what
So, ideally, you lose a layer of fat, but you have muscle built up underneath.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and having muscle is so much more than just the aesthetics. It's about like blood flow, and I mean, I can't off the top of my head think of all the reasons, but there are so many important reasons to have muscle, right?
Hormone regulation, um, the way your body responds to insulin, the way your body
Uh,
stores insulin. It
yeah,
is,
blood sugar regulation.
yes, blood sugar regulation, big time.
Yeah. Well, and the
Yeah.
other just thinking about fat that I always remind clients, especially when they're having a tough time losing it, is like our body will stash toxins and excess hormones that haven't been detoxified
Right.
at like away in fat tissue, and it will literally make more fat tissue because it doesn't have anywhere to store this stuff.
Right.
And so that could be another piece of that puzzle, like why you're not, maybe you're not detoxifying, maybe your
Right.
liver's clogged,
Right.
you're stressed. Like those are all more reasons why our body might prioritize fat over, like, or I should say storage of fat.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All the things to consider, which is why when we say, do you meditate? It's like, we're not saying it because we like, it's a fad. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like helping your nervous system relax will also help you, your metabolism, and will help you burn fat, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. So let's see what other questions we have here. Okay. So eating enough protein, super important. Is there anything else that other than the protein piece that you
Oh,
find is like essential for?
yeah. Sorry. I just went down 100 rabbit holes, but
Yeah,
like
no,
going back to your
come back
question
around.
about like some effective strategies. Eating protein with every meal is one of them. Eating a variety of whole foods. Most of your diet should come from a variety of whole foods. We've kind of touched on that too, but that is a big one. Increasing your NEAT activity, which NEAT means your non-activity non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that
Oh.
is the calories that you burn outside of just workouts. A lot of
Mhm.
people focus on how many calories am I going to burn in this workout, but then they go and they sit at a desk job all day. You get the vast majority of your like total calories are over the course of a day is burned in your NEAT activity. So increasing your steps is like the best way to do that.
Awesome.
And then practicing true resistance training, not circuit training. So going to the gym and lifting weights does not necessarily mean that you are doing true resistance training.
Okay.
Lifting weights in the proper way, incorporating like proper rest periods is the way to give your body that muscle building response, or I'm sorry, that muscle building signal that it can then
Okay.
respond to.
Oh, okay. That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So what does that look like if you can do that in a short amount of time? Like what
Yes.
what would that look like?
What does it look like to do proper resistance training?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yes, I can explain as best I can. So we have to think about, you have to realize that your body has like two systems. They're anabolic and catabolic. So if we are going to be super simplified, catabolic is a cardio efficiency based type of metabolism or metabolizing, and
Okay.
anabolic is the muscle building one. Anabolic is the one that you want. It's the one that you think that you're doing when you are using weights but circuit training. But at
Okay.
anabolic and catabolic, or I'm sorry,
Switch.
catabolic and anabolic,
Yeah.
they do two totally they use two totally different energy systems.
Oh, okay.
When you are doing any kind of cardio or circuit training, the main fuel source is oxygen. So that is why if you are doing continuous activity, your heart starts pumping faster, you're breathing heavier because your primary fuel source is oxygen. That is all fine and good. There's a great time and place to incorporate cardio training. It's great for, your cardiovascular health, mental health, a lot of things. But that system, using the catabolic system, when done for a long period of time, and what I mean by that is not just like in the session, but say you're doing it for 12 weeks or more, sometimes it's even less, but your body begins to quickly adapt. This is what our body's always doing, adapting. So our body will say, oh, or will recognize we have a lot of energy output, um, and not any more food coming in order to keep up with it. So in order to still be able to produce your hormones, to breathe, to digest, to complete all these other metabolic processes that are still going on in your body, we're going to become more efficient at that. So we're going to slow down your metabolism, make your calories last longer. And this is the exact reason why women plateau.
Mm.
And this is also the exact reason why women they'll do like a cardio like type training thing for several weeks, and then they drop off, and then the next time they try to do it, it doesn't work like it did before, because the second and third and fourth and fifth time they're starting it, their metabolism is slowed from
Wow.
that first time they did it. So when you are doing true and proper resistance training, you're resting between your sets. So it looks like you do 12 bicep curls and then you stop for 2 minutes,
Wow.
and it feels like a long time.
Yeah.
When you do that, when you stop for 2 minutes, you are stopping your body from switching to that oxygen based fuel source, and you're using only like the ATP stores that are in your muscle. When you stop, you give your body, you have to stop like the full 2 minutes. You can get away with a little shorter, but most women have never worked out this way before, so I always suggest to be a little bit more. I'm always more conservative. So rest 2.5, rest 3 minutes. You give your body enough time to restore ATP in your muscles. So that is the fuel source you're using, and not go into that cardiovascular, like endurance type adaptation. So you stop, you do another 12 reps or whatever you're doing, and you stop again and restore ATP. That is the only way to truly get your muscles to realize, oh, we need to build more muscle tissue. We need to get stronger, not more efficient, but stronger. Does
Okay.
that make sense? That was so
Wow.
long-winded. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, that makes so much sense. And it's so interesting because like I myself do hit workouts, and I'll have a follow-up question after that. But like, and I notice, I'm like, yes, you're right. I get more efficient when I'm
Yeah.
more, I'm like, I try to go 2 to 3 times a week. Um, and it's a mix of like, we're doing cardio station and then we're doing strength station and ab, blah, 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 all those stations. And I get more efficient and I feel like my endurance is up, but I haven't noticed my weight change, right? Like I always use between 10 and like 20 pounds. Like that's just kind of depending on what the exercise is. And I haven't noticed it increase. And I would have thought, like, oh, shouldn't I be getting stronger?
Yeah.
So that's
There
so
you go.
interesting to hear it explained that way. So if someone, I do still love, like it does feel so good to exercise
Mhm.
that way. Is there like, do you recommend that people do it like once a week, every other week? Like, do you have recommendations for
Yes,
routine?
for sure. And it always depends on your goal.
Okay.
Um, so if you are someone who you don't have any goal, you just love to do hit workouts like 3 days a week, then and you're healthy and your hormones are functioning properly and your sleep is good.
Mhm.
And see, there's all these requirements, but if
Yeah,
that's all good,
exactly.
then go ahead and like do hit training like 2 to 3 days a week. Most people who I speak to, so I'm going to use just kind of this like avatar. They are women who want to lose weight and get toned,
Mhm.
and they only have 3 to 4 days per week to be able to work out. So the majority of your training, so say you have 4 days, the majority of your training should be based around strength training. So that would be 3 days per week of
Mhm.
true strength training and 1 day a week of hit if you want to.
Okay.
If you're like 2 days per week, I'm sorry, if you are at 3 days per week,
Mhm.
of total, workouts per week is what you can handle. 2 days of strength training, 1 day of hit.
Okay.
And this is like the perfect kind of like segue back to what we were talking about. So that catabolic and anabolic signal, they are conflicting signals. Since they do two different things, they're also opposing. So if you have time, let's say if you were someone who's working out 6 days a week and you did half and half, you could do both, but your body would never get good at either of them
Oh,
because
wow.
it's both trying to like get more efficient and make your calories last longer and get stronger and like build muscle. And it's like they're crashing against each other. So,
So it's
um,
like if you think, I always like to remind people like humans haven't evolved past, our Paleolithic days where it's like if we are stressed, your body even though you might be answering an email from your boss and it's not actual survival situation, your body thinks that it is a survival situation. It feels the heart rate go up, and
yep,
all the different like physiological things that start to happen. Your body's thinks I'm running from a tiger. So
right.
I always like to kind of explain it in that way. So it sounds to me like, if we're doing these high intensity workouts, essentially we're kind of telling our body like you're running from a tiger,
Hmm.
or it's famine time. So like let's slow metabolism down. Let's
Hmm.
focus
Hmm.
only on this running from a tiger, versus when you're doing the anabolic where
Hmm.
it's like, no, I'm resting and I can focus on building muscle so
Exactly.
that when I need to run from a tiger, I can do it really well. But I'm
Right.
not worried about that right now. I'm focusing
Right.
on this.
Exactly.
So it sounds like if we're giving our body these conflicting messages, it never gets to really be efficient at either of them.
Exactly. Exactly. And so for someone who is like highly stressed, hit training is not something you should do. Like it's definitely not something you should do.
Definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it produces cortisol, right? Like your body
Exactly.
is going to produce stress hormones when you're in
Sure.
that state.
Yeah, and cortisol is, and you know this, but a lot of people think like cortisol is like the end of the world. Like, no, we would die if we didn't have cortisol.
You wouldn't
Um,
even wake up in the morning actually because it's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
helps you get up.
Yeah, you'd be dead. So
You'd be
it's
dead.
okay. It's okay to like have your cortisol is going to like naturally spike for the right reasons, but
Yeah.
having it elevated even when you are not working out and then adding a highly intense workout on top of that is the recipe for adrenal fatigue and hormonal issues and probably gut issues and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It can lead to so many. Yeah, your microbiome can be
Yes.
completely affected by your hormones. Your blood sugar regulation, which is a
Right.
huge piece of the puzzle that
Yes.
very few people talk about when it comes to overall health, but especially like managing weight is like keeping
Yeah.
your blood sugar nice and stable.
Yes, exactly.
That's a whole nother interview
Yeah.
that we can talk about.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, cool. So I'm getting the like notion that I should, because I would love to lose like 10 pounds, and it's like, and I'd like to tone up. So I feel like I'm eating all the right things, but it sounds like maybe I need to be focusing just on strength training and really
Yeah.
not doing these HIIT workouts so often.
I mean, we can talk more offline, but
Yeah.
probably you could pare back on the HIIT training and just do strength workouts. I'll tell you, it's gonna feel like you're doing nothing. A lot of women are like, I need to like be sweating more, like I need to like do more. No, you
100%.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it should be challenging. You should be, lifting enough weight so that it is challenging for your body, whether that's 5 pounds or whether that's like 25 pounds. That's going to be different for everybody. But yeah, it's totally different. And it is like a mental thing too. A lot of women, they have no problem like pushing themselves through like a hit workout,
Mhm.
but telling like their themselves and their mind like it's okay to stop now. It's okay to not be like dripping buckets of sweat. That is often like the bigger hurdle to overcome.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, what do you do personally? Like, how often are you incorporating cardio? What does your cardio look like? And then, how often are you like, how long, I should say, are your strength
Yeah.
training?
Yeah. My cardio is zero.
Okay.
No cardio. I hate cardio. That's kind of my claim to fame. I hate it. I don't do it. Technically, walking is cardio. It is very low intensity, steady state cardio. The recovery demands on your body it's not the same as a hit workout or even a jog. So the only kind of cardio that I do is walking. My goal right now is 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day. And I work out 3 days a week in the gym because I have a toddler and a business, and that's all that I can do right now.
Yeah.
And I'm usually there for 45 minutes to an hour. The length of time that I'm there, it just ends up being that way. But what I focus more on is making sure that I am hitting all the right muscle groups with the right amount of frequency and intensity. And that ends up being about 45 to 60 minutes per session.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now. I would love to be able to go back to 4 days a week in the gym, maybe 5 someday, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Wow. That is such a change of, I think what we've been taught. And a lot of
Yeah.
it goes back to that, like calories in, calories out, right? Like, oh, you have to, and like you said, there does still need to be a calorie deficit if you do
100%.
want, but we don't need to be like full force, hardcore at the gym for an hour, 5 days a week.
Mhm, mhm.
Actually, that could even be contributing to why you're not, it sounds like why
Exactly.
you're not seeing those gains. And I
Exactly.
cannot even tell you, and the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you to begin with was because I've had multiple female clients, and a lot of them do tend to be more in like the 40 range, so like the perimenopause range. And they're like, I'm doing all the right things, why, like, I'm working out like crazy, why isn't this working? And so I'm like, well, I know a little bit about the working out, and for me, I think about like the cortisol, how
Mhm,
is that
mhm,
affecting
mhm.
it? So I wanted to really dive deep with you because I know
Yeah,
you're going to really be able to explain it so much better and give us a lot more.
yeah, I'm glad I could.
Awesome. Okay, let me see. We have just a couple minutes left. I wanted to make sure we hit everything. Um, in regards to, like, I know we've talked a lot about nutrition, but like in regards to nutrition, is there anything in particular? Because, like, again, when I'm working with a client, I'm really focusing on cleaning up their diet. I want to make sure they're eating whole foods, high quality organic, high quality meat, etc. But is there anything specifically with nutrition that you find that maybe people could be paying more attention to?
For, for what outcome? Are you still talking like kind of weight loss
Yeah,
minded?
exactly. Yeah. Like, so
Yes.
say you have someone who's like, I eat super clean. Like and when I say clean, I mean like, you're not eating processed and refined foods. You're making sure there aren't like all these chemical additives in your foods,
Mhm.
yeah, like that's what I mean by when I
Yeah.
say clean.
Okay. Yes. So for someone who this is where the calorie, okay, we've talked a lot about calories in, calories out is too oversimplified. There is still a partial truth to it though.
Okay.
It also is dependent on this like very interconnected and complicated formula that is your metabolism, because it's not just like this plus this equals this. It's like the quadratic equation, right?
Mhm.
So, if you are eating really clean, really whole foods, you can still be eating at maintenance calories or in a surplus of calories.
Mhm.
And that could be why you are not potentially like losing weight if that's your goal, or why you're not getting toned or like building muscle if that's your goal. The
Mhm.
amount of food that you're having is critical to that. You can't outwork a bad diet. You can't outwork a diet that is in excess of your maintenance calories. You just can't. Um,
Or too little, right? That could be another.
that was exactly what I was going to say
Okay,
next.
cool.
Like your maintenance maybe should be at that 2000 mark, but it's plummeted down to 1200 because of what you've done to your body, because of how you've like abused it over time and not fixed that adapted metabolism.
Yeah. Well, and I
So
love that adaptive metabolism because I think people don't realize when you're eating too little, your body really will think it's in a famine state and it will
exactly.
slow your metabolism down, right?
Right. So going back to what we were talking about earlier with like too much hit or too much cardio, how your metabolism slows. The other reason why your metabolism slows, and you could do this even without like doing any workouts. You could be like, I'm going to eat 1200 calories a day, and you're supposed to be eating however much more. Eventually, that's your new set point. That's your new baseline. So if you combine eating too little with working out too much, you've got a double whammy for how adapted your metabolism is. It doesn't like your body is working perfectly fine actually. Your
Mhm.
body's doing what it's meant to do, which is to survive and to adapt to stress.
Mhm.
But if you want to try to lose weight, you're not in a and you're this person, you're not in a position where you can actually afford to really do that, because then what? You decrease from 1200 to 800 calories?
Mhm.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that I love there's certain nutritionists or like functional doctors out there who talk about that, like where we need to be able to help our bodies better adapt to things. So sometimes, and I don't know that much about it, but like certain like changing up your workouts and changing up what you're eating and so that your body isn't always expecting the same exact thing. You want
Yes.
your body, your metabolism to be flexible, right? To be able to
Yes.
adapt to like what's going on.
Right.
Because
Couldn't agree with that
paleo days, there were times when we didn't have
right.
we didn't have food for long periods of time, which brings me to intermittent fasting, which we don't have time for, but we should definitely talk about fasting sometime
Yes.
because that would be
Yes.
another interesting piece to the puzzle that so often these things are studied on men and then we're
Mhm.
given this information about like you should do this to lose weight,
Mhm.
like you should do keto to lose weight, and really all the studies are done on men when
Mhm.
they're not at all the same species as women, right? We
Yeah.
are a completely different.
Yeah, for the same reason why your husband loses 20 pounds and you lose 5.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
there's a reason why that happens. It's not
Exactly.
bad, but
Yeah,
you have to understand that going into it.
yeah, and not take some of this. That's why going back to like working with a specialist who can look at your body type, your activity level, all the different factors involved to really help you fine tune what
Yeah.
works for your body can be the key that unlocks that. And
Yes.
if you're somebody who's been spending all this time and energy trying to read about it and you try this and that,
Yeah.
maybe it's worth investing in someone like you to
Right.
really help them figure that out, which segues, because we got to wrap up since we're at the top of the hour here, but segues into, I'd love to hear more about your spring,
Spring
whatever
fat
you
loss
call
challenge.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, so, the short version, too long, didn't read. Short version is this. I'm doing a 4-week spring fat loss challenge that incorporates like all of the metabolic adaptation and stuff that we've talked about here. It incorporates, true resistance training, getting the right macros, the right protein, but also the right macros for your body to give your body the right signal to elicit the change that you want it to do. So in my one-on-one coaching with clients, I use a method that I call it the metabolic method, but it really just is the name for like everything that we've talked about and then some. And this 4-week challenge is like a pared down version of that. So it is a group coaching challenge, 4 weeks long, starts April 15th. Registration is open now. And I give you a custom nutrition plan, workouts to do. We have like group live streams, which you are going to be a guest on one of those live streams. I'm so excited for that.
Me too.
And no cardio except walking. So if you're okay with walking, great, but no other cardio.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, where can people find you so that they can look this up?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at the Siren. So TheSiren. And I'm on Facebook too, but it's probably easiest to find me that way on Instagram.
Cool. And you have your link. I saw
I have my link. Yes. You could always just DM me. Like if you have questions, I'm just a DM away.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Selena. This was so
Thanks,
awesome.
Jamie.
I've learned so much. I'm going to join your fitness challenge because I need to fine tune. I need to get ready for summer as well. Not
You'll
just
be
to
in good
look
company,
good, but to feel good and all that.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
So.
Awesome. We'll do it together.
Thank you so much for all this fantastic information. And
My pleasure.
Post this. So hopefully people will watch it there and get, reach out to us if you guys have any questions.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Selena. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jamie. You too.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it helps to empower you to incorporate simple changes to uplevel your health and wellness. Please like, subscribe, and share to help support the show. For more details about what was covered in today's episode, be sure to check out the show notes. I'd love to connect with you through Instagram, where you can find me at Better Belly Nutrition and at Rogue Radiance Podcast. Until next time, take care and stay radiant.